Recently, I conducted a search for popular women sports reporters, broadcasters, and journalists. I figured I would see names like Kay Adams, Erin Andrews, and Samantha Ponder, and while I did come across those names, they were all in an article titled Top 15 Hottest Female Sports Reporters and Anchors in 2023. To me, and to I'm sure many others, this is appalling. Women are more than just bodies, and in a field like the one they are in, where most of the time they are a byline, for their bodies to be important and not their words, opinions, or observations is an absurd realization. I have a Twitter, or I guess X account, where I often talk and discuss sports. On this platform, I've been honored to gain a bit of popularity with Ravens and Orioles fans mostly. I like to think that people follow me for my opinions or observations on the teams that I love, but engagement statistics don't lie. I gain a lot of followers, likes, and comments when I post myself. However, when I post stuff about the Orioles, for example, unless it goes viral, it doesn't do as well. Once again, even in a smaller, less broadcasted community, it is not a woman's opinion, but her body that gets attention. I found out recently that the first woman sports journalist was a woman named Sadie Miller. Ironically, she covered the Baltimore Orioles' original team back in 1890. 1890 was 133 years ago. In 133 years, you would think that there would be some major changes, representation, and respect for women in sports journalism, but there really hasn't. In the article Who Let Them In by Joanne Lennon, she writes that even 30 years after Miller, Lorena Hickok, who was a very established journalist, had to write her articles on Minnesota's football team from the stands since women were not allowed in the press box. 40 years later, in the 70s, a woman who was assigned to cover the Vikings vs. Bears game was still not allowed in the press box. She actually had to cover the game outside during a blizzard. When women were finally allowed in the press box and on air, only attractive women were hired to add a feminine touch to sports. This is something that I believe to be a continuing aspect of the hiring process, whether confirmed or not. I would like to think that as we have entered the 21st century and more women have joined the ranks of broadcasting, that a difference has been made. Personally, I think it has. Notably for me, in 2020, Melanie Newman became the first play by play announcer for the Baltimore Orioles. She is one of 4 women to have ever been a play by play announcer. In 2021, as the Orioles played the Tampa Bay Rays, Newman and another analyst, Sarah Langs, conducted the first all female broadcast in history. These events have paved the way for many women, young girls included, which I have been lucky enough to actually get to see. To me, these are large events, but in the grand scheme, I am reminded that this is only a small advancement in a vast history of sports journalism. Not only that, but these events are only significant to few people. I have been able to see the conversations surrounding reporters and analysts and other women that are making an impact in the sports world, but these interactions mainly focus on what they look like, on what they're wearing, on what they sound like, if they're doing their job the way that men want them to do their job. These women are making history, but it is not being recognized and celebrated by sports' targeted audience. Luckily enough, to continue and talk about this further, I was able to get one of my close friends, Kylie, who is a big Ravens fan, to get together with me and to discuss her views on sports journalism in the way that we are both actually able to conduct it through social media. So, there's this stereotype that women aren't into sports. Clearly, you are. So, what kind of got you into that? What kind of got you started?
Yeah, I haven't always enjoyed them, but I've gone through some sports hating phases in my life, but also some sports loving ones too. Um, I played a couple of sports.
Were you good?
Yeah, I was, all right when I was younger.
Well, what about watching sports? When did you start watching sports?
It was just always on, so I'd sit down and watch it. It wasn't until like the ninth grade that I got really into it. I don't know. There was this kid in my class, and he would get really defensive anytime I wore anything Ravens, like trying to pick fights and stuff. So I learned all the facts, all the stats. So anytime you try and start something, I always had to come back.
About like social media though, what kind of got you on there and into the sports community?
Well, when I first started, it was actually a weather account, but I just started following the Ravens players, and then they started following me back, and I got a following from all the posting that I was doing and stuff. So, I don't know.
I know that like personally, I get a lot more followers when I post myself. Do you kind of feel that too?
Um, yeah, I mean, I get followers from other stuff, but like when I post a picture of me in a jersey or at a game or whatever, I get a lot more followers and a lot more likes.
Does that kind of make you feel like as a woman you're not being taken seriously for, your love for sports?
Oh, totally. People are not there for my sports takes. I could post the same thing as an equally popular guy, and it would definitely not get the same amount of likes.
How about when like people message you like privately?
Oh my god, I hate it. It starts off every time I'm like, oh my gosh, Kyle Hamilton is a beast. And then the next message is like, by the way, I was just wondering if you sent. Like, I want to go back and talk about Kyle. Don't do that.
Does that kind of make you like all of those interactions make you want to kind of delete the account? I know for me it kind of makes me feel like that.
I mean, yeah, it does. It just kind of ends up feeling pointless if no one wants to talk with me about sports and stuff, you know? Like, obviously, there's a couple accounts that kind of keep me from deleting it, but also there's an equal amount that makes me want to, deactivate and stuff, I guess.
What would you see as a way to fix this though? Do you think it's possible for women to be respected in these male dominated spaces?
I mean, even apart from like social media and stuff, like reporters, analysts, whoever, they're not taken seriously. Like, I think it's going to take a while to get to that point, and that's another reason why I don't want to quit. Women won't be taken seriously unless there's other women talking about it.
Kylie and I met years ago while both applying for the same job. At the time, and for a long time after, neither of us knew the other's love for sports, for the Ravens. It took a while, but we eventually learned we were fans of the same team, both growing up close enough to Ravens territory. I think previously, we have always been in spaces where sports didn't come up. No previous friends of ours would let us go on about sports. They would cut us off. They would start ignoring us when we would bring up a play or a player. I think that is what makes our friendship work so well. We will listen to one another when previously nobody else did. We go out and watch games together. We plan trips together. We buy jerseys together. I think it's so fun because we really are able to connect on a different level. After a while of friendship, I decided to start an account, and she began tweeting more and more about the Ravens on Twitter. It was a fun thing for us to do. I still think it is. But on there, we also were able to find a lot of other women interested in the Ravens and the other sports teams that we like. And we started forming connections and friendships with them as well. It's actually kind of funny because about a month and a half ago, one of them messaged me and she asked me for help on an English paper she's writing that's actually kind of on a similar topic to this one. In these spaces, and because of the accounts, I'm able to work together and help other women's Ravens fans over the entire world. Finding people like Kylie, like the girl that reached out to me, who I get to talk about the Ravens with, is actually so validating. Being in this community often feels limiting, even embarrassing as a woman, but being able to create those friendships with other women in the space allows for those feelings to pass. Things I really love that she brought up is her answer in response to my final question. She talks about how if women give up the fight, if they stop talking about sports, then they never will be taken seriously in a space that is male dominated like sports are. I think this is so important because we both have talked about how annoying it can be dealing with people online, and whether they intend to or not, it feels as if they attempt to silence us or to brush us aside because we are women. I just watched the Browns Rams game, and during a timeout, they went to reporter Carissa Thompson for an update on another game. She spoke for maybe 15 seconds. I looked her name up on Twitter directly after. I saw stuff like, I can't stand listening to Carissa Thompson. At least Carissa Thompson is a smoke show. I don't trust Carissa Thompson's update report. And as soon as the name Carissa Thompson was mentioned, I knew this was a joke. It doesn't matter what she says, what she does, what she looks like. People will not listen to her no matter what. This doesn't occur with Joe Buck, with Everett Washburn, with men. It just doesn't. Being online, being able to talk about sports is such a wonderful thing to me. And I feel that it's the same for many women everywhere. And I think that if we let the people that are silencing us win, then there will not be a space to talk about it in the future for us. Women must continue to talk and to fight for their ability to talk about what they love, because they will continue moving the goalposts for us no matter what. We will not be enough in their spaces unless we do enough to make it so.